Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all the respected guests, faculty members, researchers, students, and nature enthusiasts, and all spider lovers who have joined today for this wonderful evening. On behalf of Maharashtra Vruksha Samvardhini, Pune, Department of Botany, Ram Niranjan Vengurla College, Mumbai, and Barrister Balasaheb Khardekar College, Vengurla, I extend a hearty welcome to each one of you. Now, today's program is a part of our Nisarga Ek Khajina Pustak Parichay, a series which was started a few years ago, where we introduce books that deepen our understanding of nature and biodiversity. Today, we are very happy to introduce a remarkable book on the web with spiders, which is a handbook with field notes written by renowned archaeologist Dr. Abhijeet Bayani. Nature is filled with extraordinary organisms that often go unnoticed. Among them, spiders are perhaps the most misunderstood creatures, yet they are among the most fascinating predators, ecological indicators, and natural pest controllers. Today's book beautifully opens the door to this hidden world through the years of patient observation, fieldwork, and photography by Dr. Abhijit Bayani. Dr. Abhijit Bayani is a wildlife biologist with more than 50 years of experience in wildlife conservation, conservation biology, and natural history. He did his PhD from IISER Pune. His PhD focused on human wildlife conflict in central India and worked with various international institutions during his career. He is also an internationally recognized photographer, having several photography awards to his name. His taxon expertise includes spiders, frogs, birds, and ungulates. He now works as a science writer, visiting faculty to colleges in Pune. He's also working as a consultant to various companies and also has his own startup by name Pipitly, which he's going to talk in today's session as well, which creates nature themed products and works in nature education and outreach. So, here, without taking much of the time, I invite Dr. Abhijit once again on behalf of the organizing institutions and everyone present here. I request you to kindly share your thoughts about your wonderful book and take us into the fascinating world of spiders. Welcome. This virtual platform is yours.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks,
Yes.
Avard sir, for having me here, and I hope the screen is visible
Yes, sir. Yes.
and I'm audible to everyone.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that wonderful and pretty elaborate introduction of mine. I'm really very glad that I got this opportunity to interact with every one of you, particularly for the spiders, because these eerie creatures do not generally grab any attention as such. And every time somebody sees a spider, that person wants to get rid of it, essentially if they're in your houses and they make a mess. So but I am that one person who has been uh, not really collecting spiders but then keeping them in my house, and eventually facing the wrath of my mother and father, I got a small space in my balcony where I, grew some spiders. I studied them. I did that for 15 years. Much of the time was, of course, outside my house. So, and eventually I came up with this book. So the wrath was nullified after that. Anyhow, thanks for having me here. I would also, encourage everyone to ask me questions whenever they want, but I would rather prefer them to ask them in the end of the presentation, because it's very likely that I might cover that topic up. But then feel free to, type down the questions in the chat box. I would love to talk about the spiders. And as I go further, you would know that I love to speak about these subjects. I can go on. You might have to make me stop. That this is enough of spiders anyway. So this is the book. That's me. A couple of years back. And that's the company that I own. And this is the spider, which is this is the book called On the Web with Spiders, a handbook with field notes. This is about a 450 pages book with about more than 500 photographs, all of them clicked by me. All the text is original, and it also includes all the unpublished notes, which I did not go for, typical publication, but then I wanted to put them together as one particular book, and then that's the result. It is published by Indian Institute of Science Press. A little bit of me, after finishing my PhD, I worked with Indian Institute of Science where I was teaching undergraduate students, and then that's where, in fact, it triggered that I should come up with the spiders, because I used to conduct some lectures on taxonomy as well as natural history, organismal biology, ecology, and stuff like that. I used to also take students on field. And if you have ever visited ISC campus, you would realize that that's one of the most beautiful campuses, and filled with lots of creatures around, and that in fact triggered. So I used to carry my undergraduate students over there out in the field, would show them different spiders, and after that I kindled what you call a curiosity among them. And these are the students who never had biology in there until 12th grade. These were the students who were highly interested in knowing the spiders. They would bring me the specimen, they would want me to identify,
Hello.
and then so, as I was saying, I was working with the Indian Institute of Science, and that's where, in fact, keeping all my undergraduate students in focus, I came up with this book. This book is, in fact, although it's a work of 15, 17 years, I wrote that entire book. And of course, the photographs were getting continuously clicked all those years. The writing of the book happened during the COVID time. So the book was written in, I think, in 3 months, 3 or 4 months. I had finished writing all the pages by then. It took a bit of time at ISC Press in terms of, designing or maybe finalizing and review and other stuff. So it took a little bit of time to get the book published. If ISC Press had in fact pushed a bit, it would have been only the second book so far, because of some publication issues and some, ISC Press is swamped with such books, and everybody would want to publish with such a prestigious publisher. My book came little later, and it turned out to be only the third book, which is dedicated for the spiders of India. A little bit of why I am inclined towards spiders is because of this Marvel character, and all the people who are of my age or younger, or perhaps who are interested in, or whosoever know this particular poster or the banner. The first Spider-Man came in 2002, and I think I had just finished, or I was in my 12th during that time. And this character intrigued me a lot, particularly when I saw the movie. They had shown a beautiful lab, all the fantastic infrastructure, and that there were people who were observing species. And there is a scene where the person who was showing the lab shows 15 species using which they had genetically modified to make one single species. Of course, it's a sci-fi. You cannot really do it in the real world. That I realized years later. But then that was a very intriguing moment for me. And after that, I in fact started spending most of my time outside the classroom. And even teachers were kind of pissed off with me that I do not attend the lectures, and so they would anyway shoo me away. So I spent a lot of time outside the classroom even during my bachelor's, and I kept on collecting spiders. I kept on observing them, and I put all of them into a book, which is this. This book particularly, covers about 80 species. Before we go into that, uh, spider is an arachnid, and there are several arachnids. So within India, there are about 1,500 species of spiders, and of course, all those 1,500 cannot be covered in one single book. There is also a caveat in that uh, identifying the species particularly, because that's what requires dissection. Many of the spiders look alike, so just based on the photograph, they cannot be identified. There are certain species which are absolutely endemic to specific region, or they are present in only a specific area. So many of the species are rare. You cannot see them on the regular basis. So I selected those 80, 90 species which are very commonly seen all across India. I always had photographs of them, and then I realized that this is the best way to put them into the book, focus them on the phenomenon, focus them on specific families, focus them specifically on specific genera, and that's how the book came into picture. The book contains, of course, more than 500 photographs, which are all clicked by me. It includes some of the uh, natural history observations, life history observations, behavioral observations, natural history observations, all done by me, and they're not published elsewhere. In fact, some of them, in fact, do not have any research done so far. So they are potential research questions if somebody is interested. And I see there are several students in this particular talk, so I would suggest that these are the typical questions and very high yielding questions, I would say, that if somebody wants to take for research. So a bit about spiders and arachnids before we get into more details. Uh, Spiders are arachnids, and arachnids are the ones which are very different from insects. So many a times, what happens is all the people who are not highly inclined into this particular subject, they put spiders or all the arachnids or even anything that looks like an insect into a very broad field called entomology. So entomology typically deals with insects, and arachnids are not insects, is what I say. And there are of course there are evolutionary reasons, there are taxonomic reasons, but the best way to tell them apart from insects is all the arachnids have four pairs of legs. uh, in Marathi we call it ashtapad. So four pairs of legs, so that is eight legs, and two body segments. So this is a typical body plan of an arachnid, and that is present in all the arachnids. And as you can see, some of the representations over here, that's the velvet mite, the red one, which now is the season to see them. Many of them call that reshmacha kida or pausali kida. There are several names to it, and this is the
Mru-
time when you
Mrugaचा
insert
किडा.
Murugatsa
Oh.
kida. There are several such local names for this particular so-called insect, but it's not an insect. It's a velvet mite. Ticks and mites, that's the category it falls into. Then next is the scorpion. Of course, everybody knows scorpions. Although there is a tail to the scorpion, that's the only colloquial name of, but that's a part of its abdomen. So it doesn't have three body segments. There are still two body segments, but one of the last part of the body segment grows into something what looks like a tail. In fact, scorpion is the one of those very rare organisms which have venom in their tail. In all the arachnids, whosoever are venomous, they have venom placed in their mouth. This is that one odd creature which has venom in its tail. Then there is a pseudoscorpion, and pseudoscorpions are really tiny. And that's a very highly zoomed photograph of pseudoscorpion. One adult of pseudoscorpion can sit on your ladyfinger nail. So they are that small. In fact, multiple of them can fit on the nail of your ladyfinger. So pseudoscorpions are really, really tiny. They're microscopic, and they're obviously called that way because they lack that particular tail-like structure, and that's the pseudoscorpion. There is another group called camel spiders. People often confuse them for real spiders, but they are not. There is a separate order called Solifugae, or maybe generally they're called as solifuges or camel spiders, and all of them are of that particular drab, muddy color. Camel spiders are typically distributed in dry areas, and they are present, particularly in Rajasthan, Gujarat. some dry regions of Maharashtra. This particular photograph is from Jejuri. So they are present around us, and they prefer dry, rocky, grassy areas. But that's again not a triple spider, although the name includes camel spider. And that name is because it's a spider-like creature which is found in dry areas where the camels are generally present. So that's how the name comes into picture. That's the camel spider, or the solifuge is what we call. Solifuge is one that group which is not very well studied taxonomically. But that's the beginning. We do not even know so many species of them. Uh, Moving next is something what we call as daddy long legs. These are the arachnids which have extremely long legs, as you can see in the photograph, very small body and extremely long legs. There is a spider which looks like this, are also called a daddy long leg spiders, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. And those are the very common spiders that we see in our household. The most dirty ones, the spiders that we see in the houses, and we want to get rid of them. Uh, there is something called as whip scorpion. It looks like a scorpion, but then instead of its tail-like structure, it has a very slender part of it, the function of which is largely not known, but it is believed that it acts like a insect antennae, right? Arachnids also do not have antennae, what most of the insects have, or all the insects have. Insects, I forgot to tell before, insects have three body parts and three pairs of legs, or six legs. That's how we distinguish insects from arachnids. There is something called as tailless whip scorpion. That's another very odd arachnid. And there is something called as horseshoe crab. So horseshoe crabs are typically marine creatures that most I don't want to call them primitive, but then the most early diverged arachnids, right? So this is the large repertoire of arachnids particularly. Getting into how spiders are different from these is this way. So of course, spiders have two body segments. One is called as prosoma and another is opistosoma, or maybe to avoid the jargon, it's a cephalothorax and abdomen. Cephalothorax because that one frontal body segment, the first body segment, is a fusion of head and thorax. That's why cephalothorax, and then there is abdomen. There is among spiders, there are two, rather three groups, but then the two commonly seen groups are mygalomorphs and araneomorphs. Mygalomorphs are the creatures, I mean the spiders which diverged little early than araneomorphs. So araneomorphs are the what we colloquially call them are the modern spiders, where mygalomorphs are the slightly primitive spiders. So what over here on the screen we are seeing is three different body plans. The leftmost is even early diverged or slightly primitive spider called as mesothele. It has two body segments, of course, but then look at the arrangement of its fangs. Okay, I'm going to talk about the chelicerae on the fangs little ahead, but then you try to see how they are differently placed and how the movement is different. Forget mesothelium for now, but then let's focus on mygalomorph and araneomorph. The figure B and figure C are respectively mygalomorphs and araneomorphs. So figure B, which is mygalomorph, has the fangs which are very similar to a viper. They operate in the front. Okay, so their movement is longitudinal, it's along the body axis. Whereas for the araneomorphs, it is sideways, that is, it is perpendicular to the body axis. So that's a major difference between mygalomorph and araneomorph. So my book particularly talks about araneomorphs, which are because these are the most common ones. Mygalomorphs are the ones which are slightly rarer. You will see them in tropical areas. You all must have heard about something called as Theraphosidae or tarantulas. You must have heard this terminology called tarantula. So a tarantula is the mygalomorph. All the tarantulas are mygalomorphs. Not all the mygalomorphs are tarantulas, but all the tarantulas are mygalomorphs. In fact, there are certain araneomorph spiders which look like tarantulas. They're very hairy, quite large in body, but they're not. So the way to distinguish between these two is look at the way fangs move, and that's pretty visible. So mygalomorphs are large enough, and their fang movement can be seen very easily. It's viper-like. I'm sure everybody has seen viper fangs, or at least know how viper fangs move. So that's how you distinguish mygalomorph from araneomorphs. Mygalomorphs are, I mean, there is plenty of size variation in them, but mygalomorphs are generally tend to be larger than araneomorphs. Uh, Moving next, this is how a megalomorph look like. These are four different species found in Western Ghats of India. The top two were photographed in Bhimashankar. The bottom two were photographed in Western Ghats of Karnataka, near Sakleshpur. One of them was in Agumbe. So these are very large. These are the tarantulas, particularly. I'm showing them because that's the terminology everybody knows. As you can see that their fangs, particularly, they're very visible in the top right corner image. The fangs are pretty straightforward. And the movement is along the body axis, right? So that's the mygalomorph. And here is what I'm going to talk in little greater details is the araneomorph. Now, this is the general body plan of an araneomorph spider. Of course, four pairs of legs. There is something called as cephalothorax and abdomen. All the legs are attached to cephalothorax, particularly in the thoracic region. Left side, you can see the sketch, and on the right side, you will see the actual spider. There is, of course, an ocular region where the eyes are situated. Eyes is something that is really very important, and I'm going to talk about them for quite some time because there is a larger way to identify them on the field. It's also a taxonomic character. I'll talk about eyes in greater details as we go ahead. All the legs are generally clawed. They have claws so that they can climb different surfaces. There is something called as chelicerae. The fangs that I have been talking about are taxonomically known as chelicerae. There are pulps or pedipalps. On the right side image, what you can see that orange short uh, parts near the eyes are essentially the pedipalps or pulps. Uh, then, of course, there is abdomen, and on the abdomen there is a very important organ called as spinnerets. Now, spinnerets are the ones which are responsible for production of silk. There are silk glands in the body near the anus of a spider, and from that's where the silk is produced. There are silk glands, and through the spinnerets, the silk is thrown out. Okay. Of course, the head side is what we call the anterior side, and the posterior side is where the spinnerets or abdomen is present. And based on that, there is a lot of taxonomic difference. Spiders also have hair-like structures. Of course, there are hairs, as well as there is something called as trichobothria. So trichobothria are the sensory organs. So trichobothria help spiders to sense the movement or any vibrations which are on the ground. This is the side profile of a spider, and as you can see, that carapace is, or maybe the cephalothorax, and the part of it that is the carapace is uh, fairly smaller than the abdomen. This is mostly the case, if not in all the spiders, but then this is the typical body plan. There is an ocular region or with the eye region. There are fangs, pedipalp. Then
हॅलो.
there are legs.
या आय थिंक थोडा आवाज गेला होता तुमचा मध्ये.
आता येतोय?
हा, आता परफेक्ट आहे. मध्ये एक 5-10 सेकंद गेले.
मग इथून मी ऍक्च्युली परत रिपीट करतो जरा.
या प्लीज.
Right. Sorry for that. So this is the general body plan of a spider, which can be seen from the sides. Of course, there is a cephalothorax and abdomen, and as you can see, that abdomen is larger than the cephalothorax. There is a very small part which connects these two body parts. It's called as pedicel, and that's very important. Most of the organs of a spider are present in abdomen. That includes alimentary canal, that includes lungs. Majority of the hemolymph is also in the abdomen, and abdomen is slightly a flexible structure compared to the cephalothorax. So cephalothorax technically is more or less a what you call is highly keratinized structure. So it's fixed in its dimension, and generally it does not change. But abdomen is something that is quite flexible structure, and it can move in a specific way along the axis. It can move to some degree, and that's very helpful for spiders overall movement. That's why the pedicel that connects these two body parts is very small, and from that pedicel all the organs, all the maybe the alimentary canal, some of the ganglia that pass through that one single very small structure, and then that's very important one for all the spiders, in fact, right? So that's how general body plan looks. And what you can also see is there is an anal tubercle, that's the anus, and there are spiracles, and there are also spinnerets. So spinnerets is that one single organ through which the silk is produced. There is also a genetic opening, uh, which is present in females. That's the plain structure in males, as we are going to see ahead. Now, of course, uh, spiders may not be sexually dimorphic all the time, meaning that the morphs itself are generally not different. I mean, of course, there are several spiders in which the male and female can be distinguished just by looking at them. But then, based on the structure of pedipalp, you can definitely identify a sex of a spider. Given that they are adults, these are the structures which are not developed in the juveniles. I'm going to talk about how the growth occurs in spider, and that's when I think it becomes clearer. But then, for now, to identify whether it is a male or a female, uh, I talked about a structure called pedipalp and its distal end, that is distal as in the one which is away from the body. So the last segment of the pedipalp, if it is globular, if it looks like it is swollen, then it's a male. If it is not, then it's a female. On contrary, females have a presence of epigyne. In the previous image, I showed you the genital opening part. The genital opening part is where the epigyne is present. Okay, so for an adult female, there is something called as epigyne. That structure is present over there, and it pedipalps in males act as a you know it's it's an sex organ through which they can deliver sperms in female's body through the epigyne of the female. And now, how they look like, let's look at it. Before we, in fact, go ahead, look at this image. There are often confusions between how which side is dorsal and which side is ventral. Uh, this particular side on the left side is the dorsal view of the female, whereas the ventral view of the female is on the right side. And you will see a tiny spider near this particular larger larger spider. That's the male of the same species. Okay. Um, so on the left side, you will see the ventral side of the male, but on the right side, you will see dorsal side of the male. But the titles dorsal and ventral are kept for the females. Okay. So the colors are different, and if you see them very closely, you will see the epigyne in case of female. On the dorsal side, if you see, you will see eyes and the other structures which are present on human body, on the spider body. Uh, okay, so what I was talking about in terms of sex identification in spiders is the pedipalps, which is a very important structure. And look at the red arrows on the top image. That's a female. The distal segment of the pedipalp, the front two structures, is straight. It's simple, and it does not have that globular structure as such. Whereas for the one which is below, the lower image, that is of a male, it has a globular structure. Okay, all these photographs are, by the way, of three different species. So I just have put them for the illustration, for showing how the structure look different. As we go ahead, maybe I have a few photographs of the same species, male and female. I'll talk about them. But what I'm talking about right now is that blackish structure that you're seeing right now. That's the pedipalp of that particular male. So it's quite large. It's very visible, and that's how you can identify whether it's a male or a female. On the right side, the vertical image that I'm showing right now, follow that bluish oval. That's the epigyne of the female, and that's where male inserts its pedipalp and releases the sperm. Okay, so presence of the epigyne and presence of the pedipalp in males, that a globular segment, is present only in the adults, not in the juveniles. So that's how you can definitely distinguish between male and a female. Little bit of a dissections, if you do, both these structures are essentially the epigynes. That's how you can see them when you dissect them. And as I said earlier, that if you want to identify a species of a spider, you require these structures because structurally they are very different across different species. And there are very few instances, in fact, almost no instances of cross breeding between different species for several reasons. So essentially, the people who have studied evolutionary biology would know a terminology called pre-zygotic isolating mechanism. So this is perhaps the best example of that. They are structurally so different at times that it causes a physical incapability of a male and a female. So compatibility itself is not matching. So this is how the female epigyne looks like when you dissect it. On the right side below image, what you right now see is the part of male pedipalps called as embolus. These are needle-like structure, really microscopic. And while we were dissecting this particular female, we found them. They act like reproductive plugs. So oftentimes it might happen that a male would insert his embolus and break it there so that the sperm release is efficient enough, as well as it acts as a reproductive plug so that the other males do not come and uh, mate with that particular female. Moving next, this is how a male looks like, and this is the ventral side of a male. And what you can see right now is look at the left blue arrow. It indicates the embolus of the spider, and you can see that the globular structures of uh, the pedipalps, and there's a long structures. These are the ones which are inserted in female's body, and I'll tell you why they are so long. I mean, given the body size, those structures are really long proportionately. And this is a male of a spider called giant wood spider. You must have heard this name before. Nephila is the genus for which this male is there. So very long pedipalp structure, the very long embolus that gets inserted inside the female body and releases the sperms. Of course, for a male, sperm production happens within the body, and then they are transported to this pedipalp where they are stored for some time, and then they are released. The right side blue arrow indicates that's the position where a female epigyne is present, which is plain over here, as you can see. Right? So this is how you distinguish between male and a female. This is one of the major write-ups in my book because several people are not very convinced how to identify a male from a female, and I have given very clear instructions how to look for them. This is another way of looking at in a side-by-side comparison of male and a female. This is of the same species. As you can see on the left side, there's a male. On the right side, that's a female. Both of them are of the same species. And as you can see that the pedipalp of the male have that large globular structure, whereas the females lack them. Same species, male and a female, side by side comparison. You can follow the red arrow over here. Moving on, there is also something what we generally call as sexual dimorphism. What I was talking about some time back is the size dimorphism, right? So dimorphism often considered as only in terms of colors, but here it's color as well as the size. The red circle, what you can see right now, is the male, whereas the female is present in the center of the image. So look at the size difference. Male is substantially smaller than a female. And it also shows, I don't know if you see it very closely, you will see that globular structure, but it's slightly difficult to see in this image. But then the color is different, and the size itself is different. This is not a juvenile and a juvenile adult difference. These are two adults, male and a female. And uh, this is a very well-known species called as Herenia multipuncta. This is generally present on the bark, and quite a beautiful species, as you can see. Right. So another aspect of my book that I have tried to cover is a substantial part on spider ecology, because that's where, in fact, a field related to a taxon should move to, because taxonomic work keeps on happening. There are taxonomic revisions that keep on happening. Everyone knows about them. So it's very important to also look at the spider ecology, and these are some of the aspects of the spider ecology that I have covered in my book. One is predation, reproduction, silk production, web construction, something on growth, molting, and regeneration, mimicry, like what you see a mimicry in butterflies, and the venomics, right? So before I, in fact, go ahead, let me tell you that all the spiders are venomous. It's just that they're so tiny and their venom is so not potent that it just doesn't affect me as a human being. So I'm going to talk about that a little more as you go ahead. Okay. Looking at the predation, as you can see, there's a spider in the corner, and it was pouncing upon uh, a small colony of paper wasp. So this is the paper wasp that I was studying in ISC. I had, in fact, you can see that some of them have markings on them, and the spider, in fact, tried to feed on the wasps. Both of them are predatory species, to be very precise. So spider is a predatory species, exclusively predatory species, except one species in the world which is herbivorous. But all the spiders are predators. They look for anything between any invertebrate they can feed on. There are certain larger spiders which can feed on bats and birds. So this is one such example where the spider was seen to be predating on another wasp species. And these wasps can sting, and their sting are painful. So I have no clue how the spider was managing their stingers. So yeah, so this was one such occasion, and in fact, this particular spider destroyed the observations which I was doing for UG practical for this particular wasp. Also, you can see that there are several other examples of predation. The this top left is a lynx spider feeding on a honeybee. On the right side is a species called oxidate, which is feeding on a small ant. Then there is a crab spider, flower crab spider, which is feeding on a stingless bee. On the right side, there is a running crab spider, which is feeding on a fly, and all these are very fantastic events of predation that you see in there. So, a general observation is as such as follows. Spiders are generally ambush predators, and they look for the prey species to come to them, and then they catch hold them. Few families like wolf spiders, or maybe some of the ground spiders, which in fact chase the prey species and then hunt them. But almost all spider species are predators, ambush predators. I meant to say. What they do generally is they will catch that particular prey species, of course, with the help of legs. They subdue that individual by injecting venom inside them. And the way they do it is essentially catch hold at the pedicel of head and thorax. The part that connects head and thorax, that's the precise part where these spiders hold them. It looks like a gachandi dharल्यासारखं ते दिसतं for all those people who understand Marathi over here. So it catches hold at the neck and then starts injecting venom inside. Spiders do not, feed on the entire body. They would inject the venom inside, which acts like a digestive juice. It digests literally everything inside that body, and then they suck it up. They suck the juice. So spiders are always on a liquid diet. They're always on a liquid food. They do not consume the prey as a whole. Even though it's a vertebrate, for larger spiders, they do the same. They inject the venom, let it work the way it works. It digests everything inside, and then they feed on the juice that comes out of it. And this is where it's really marvelous to see that how body shape also changes while they feed on that. I have an example of that, and they can really feed very continuously unless they really get fed very well. And the abdomen size varies when they feed on larger prey. I'm going to show that photograph to you in a while, but okay, here it is. So this is that redback spider, or it's a sister species of what is very famously known as black widow spider from Australia. Australia being a house of many venomous species, potentially and very potent venomous species. This is one of those sister species of the same genus called Latrodectus, and Latrodectus erythromenos is the one that we see in India. On the left side, what you can see is the same individual which was before feeding, and on the right side, what you see is the same individual after feeding. On the right side image, what you can also see is it has fed on a scorpion. So back there on the ground, you will see the dead body of a scorpion, and that's the scorpion, which is one of the very deadly species that is known. In fact, its venom has uh, caused death in some of the individuals who are very allergic to those venoms. It has fed on that entire scorpion within a night, and it grew that big. So see the difference between the abdomen size. So I was just saying that an abdomen is a flexible structure, whereas the cephalothorax is not that flexible, and this is a direct proof of that. So before feeding and after feeding, the sizes just vary a lot. Right? This is an adult individual, same individual which was photographed within 24 hours, and this is what you see as a result. Coming back to this particular slide, this has a flower crab spider which has caught a honeybee, and then there is a small fly on the bee which acts as a kleptoparasite. So kleptoparasite is any species uh, which steals food from the actual predator. So it's a tritrophic interaction which was seen out in the field. And I was also conducting a lecture on trophic interactions between different organisms out there. And then when we were doing field work, students had asked me that what's the role of parasites? Parasites should be just killed, and we saw this particular interaction over there. So there is a predator, there is a prey species, and there is a kleptoparasite, which is same in the one single same frame. Very beautiful natural history observation that we could do on that day. Yeah, moving on. Spiders, although they are predators, they also are, in fact, prey of. Yeah, Sushma ji, please go ahead, ask your question. Okay, so what I was saying, although the spiders are predators, there are instances where spiders are fed on by other predators. Okay, by the way, I'm still audible to people, right? If I'm not, then please tell me that way.
Yes, yes, sir,
Yes, yes, you
absolutely.
are
Okay,
absolutely
great, great, great. Somebody has a question, so if that person wants to ask, can go ahead right
Uh,
now.
yeah, or else they can
actually,
type, sir, no problem.
Yeah,
yeah,
that would be better. I would prefer
yes,
that.
That would
yes,
be better. And later on, we'll give time for interaction
Hmm.
also.
Hmm. Hmm. Thank you so much. So as I was saying, spiders, although they are predators on their own, there are of course other spiders which will feed on the spiders, but there are other invertebrate uh, uh, predatory species which will feed on the spiders, of which the two most famous predators are the spider wasps, and they in fact do not feed on them as such. They carry these spiders. They basically inject their venom inside the spider's body, which will make them paralyzed. They chop off the legs, and then they carry the entire body in their nest, where they can lay eggs inside the spider body. spider remains alive for a few days. By then, the wasp eggs hatch, the larval form come out, they feed the spider from inside, and then as they grow, they go into pupation and then they fly out. That has been the cycle. It has been going on for several millions of years. And there are certain species of wasp which have certain specific spiders to catch for. So there are some obligatory interactions there. Also, the ants, which are very famously known to predate on the spiders. On the right top, what you can see, there is something an ant called as jumping ants, quite a beautiful and very large ant. Uh, this is the worker individual which is carrying a spider which it killed. In fact, killed in the sense it paralyzed, not really killed. It's going to take it. I mean, I saw it taking it to its nest and all the way down so that all the other individuals can feed on it. On the left on the left bottom image, what you can see, there are two different ant species which are trying to feed on the same spider. And look at the size difference between the ant and the spider. So for the ants, of course, it just doesn't matter what the size of the prey is. More the ants, they will hunt it down, and that's how the nature goes on. So the spiders essentially also act as prey species for some of the other predatory species. This is one such example where other spiders can feed on a spider of species can feed on another species of spider. Here I saw an interaction between a two very common spiders. One is Telamonia and another is Britus. Both of them are from the same family called Salticidae. And as you can see that Telamonia was trying to feed on Britus and the Britus was sitting on egg sac. So I don't know how successful it was, but then I at least saw this interaction. There are several species which specialize in killing the spiders. In fact, there is a genus called Portia, which precisely knows which are the web threads which are not sticky and grow and hunt that particular spider individual from its web and comes back. Fantastic species. I mean, it's really interesting to see all of them. And that's what brings me to silk production and web production in spiders. This is one such example which hunts other insects using a web which can be expanded. So this is called as nest card. I don't know its common name, but the Dinopes is that one genus, which I think it's called as the net casting spider or something. Not very commonly seen, particularly it can be seen in Northeast India. It is known for the two major reasons. One is its very large eyes, like the headlamps, very big eyes, and the way it hunts. What it does is it creates a web which can be extended. So right now on that bigger image, what you can see that there is a web which can be expanded to at least 4 or 5 times larger than what it is seen right now. So as you know that spider silk and spider webs are extensively flexible, they're very tough structures, and this particular spider leverages that to hunt a prey species of any size. So it just hangs itself upside down, holds this particular uh, mesh-like or web mesh-like web in its legs, and whenever there is a prey species which passes by, it just throws onto it and catches it back, and then it subdues it. It feeds on it in the regular way, and then it's back again in the same posture. Right. Prey handling time also varies based on the spider size and spider's own capability, as well as the prey size and how difficult it is to capture that particular prey. Right. So this is an interesting species that we see around. Very, very beautiful behavior that you can see about this particular spider. Coming back to this, there is a web. I'm so sorry about this particular title, but then this title of slide is webs of different spiders, and these are the different types of webs that you can see built by the spiders and their stratification, if you want to put it in a different way. As you can see, that is dorsal ventral photographs I'm repeating over here, but see that this is the species which has that web structure, which looks like a signature. It's a it's a structure which is present in the cross on the web. That's the identification feature of this particular genus called Argeo, and that structure is called as stabilimentum. It acts as a stabilizer for the web, of course. It also conceals the spider that way. But the most important feature of that structure, the stabilimentum, is to attract the insects. So these are the web structures which are known to reflect UV, and many of the insects are attracted to UV, and that's how they catch the prey species in their webs. This is a typical of a signature spider. You will see it very often in even in your backyard, but that's the function of those. Then these are, of course, the orb waves. So there is a difference between just the silk, spider silk production and the web. So web has a definite structure, it has a definite pattern, whereas the spider silk is just the silk threads which are created by the spiders. And these are very different in composition and different compositions from the regular silkworm, but they're still called as silk. The proteinaceous structures, they are supposed to be at least 40 times tougher than silk. There have been attempts to, you know, make a biomaterial out of orbs, but then it has been very challenging to do that. First of all, because you cannot rear webs, you cannot rear spiders as you do for the sericulture. These are the orbs or webs, also colloquial terms known as circular webs. On the right top, what you can see is again a different structure of stabilimentum. It has the same function. All right, but then see the difference. These are four different genera, and the way they are making the circular webs is entirely different. These are the orb webs, which is what the spiders are largely known for. Spiders make webs. That's the equation that every person has in his head, and there are quite a different number of species which do not make webs. These are the few species which make a circular web. As we go ahead, these are again different orb webs. The top left image is of a spider called as Zoosis, or from family Euloboridae. That's a non-venomous spider. I'm going to talk about that a little later. But then see the structure of stabilimentum and see the way, if you see it on your screen properly, it looks slightly bluish, right? That's the part which is reflecting the UV. On the right side image, the bottom one, you can see the circular web structure, which is very close to ground. It is made by a juvenile, and it has all the droplets on it. So a web structure can be made even very close to ground. And whenever there is a small grasshopper which tries to jump and gets entangled into it. All the spiders, right from their birth, can, in fact, they have potential of producing silk, but it's only after maybe one or two molds they get independent of their mother, and then they form their own webs. So you will see tiny webs everywhere which are made by juveniles. However, there are certain very small species which webs of which are very tiny indeed. uh, Again, now a different kind of spider silk structure is also called a sheet web. It looks like a sheet which has been laid down there. And this is typical of the spiders called wolf spiders and funnel web spiders, quite a few families and genera of that. You will also see, the bottom right side image. You will see many such small spider web sheets in your backyard, or maybe when you will go on, see a grassland, you will see them in the morning. They hold the dew, but these are the sheet webs. These are not the typical orb webs, but this is one of the kind of the web that spiders make. Uh, of course, spiders have different types of webs as per their need. These are the different shapes which cannot be categorized specifically, but then the top two are the ones which are called as tent webs. And as you can see, they look like a tent, and the spider is present inside that particular tent like structure. How it catches prey species is still not very well known. But of course, I mean, any species which would want to fly from ground and all the way up, particularly grasshoppers or maybe moths, they get entangled into this very quickly. Then there are, of course, certain structures which look like they have no pattern or structure, but that's how they make it. Those are called cobwebs. They look like they're dirty and they are not of any use, but then of course there are spiders within that, and they make it so that the predators don't understand where the individual is sitting. These are other types of webs again. The top left is that of a social spider, and that one single structure is very sticky, and there are at least five to six, at least in smaller version, there are at least five to six spiders present within that. So that's the only species which is social as such. All the spiders are generally solitary that way. All right, so these are different types of webs. Coming back to, I was talking about what we call as eyes, and before we get into eyes, this is a not an entire spider on its own, but it's the skin that it has shedded. So as a spider grows, so spider is a hemimetabolous creature. That means that the juveniles, I mean, there is no complete metamorphosis. So from the eggs, whatever comes out, a nymph or the spiderling, it's not called as nymph, but in a spiderling looks exactly like an adult, except for the colors and the presence of the sex organs. So this is the skin of a spider which was recently shedded, and as you can see that all the features are retained exactly as they are. It's a very important source for a taxonomist, as you can definitely identify a genus at least from such things. This is another example of the same. This is not an actual spider. This is just the skin that has been shedded by this particular spider. And as you can see that even the eyes are pretty much visible, even the fangs are pretty much visible. The claws on the legs are very much visible. The spines on the legs are pretty much visible. So this is a fantastic source if you want to know what species it is. Although you don't have the species in your hand, you can take this XUVA and examine it and then definitely identify at least a genus and a species. So genus level identification is certainly possible based on this. This is an interesting one. This genus is this occurs in various different forms, and as you can see, that bluish photograph is how the spider reflects UV light back to you. So the same individual, which was in normal light, the below image and the top image is in the UV light. I was just going to talk about this one. As I said, this is a social spider. There is a species called Stygodyphus saracinorum, and this is one of those very rare phenomena in spiders that the spiders are social creatures. So this is the primitively social spider species that you will see in thorny areas or maybe in the grasslands or wherever there are bubble trees or maybe any thorny trees around. So this is the spider that will be around during that time. Uh, Stygodyphus saracinorum is that one. Okay, so
Yeah,
Stygodyphus
no worries.
saracinorum is what something that I was talking about. This is the social spider that I was talking about. And there's a web of this, and there are. So this is the web of this particular spider. So this one single structure will contain several of these individuals. We There are very few studies which cover up that talk about different what you call division of labor. There are no evidences on as such a division of labor that you see in honeybees, but this is that one spider species which is an oddity among spiders, that is the multiple individuals stay in one single structure. In fact, the babies when they hatch, they remain there for that one single structure, and the structure can grow really big. I have seen this spider growing its web to meters if they are not disturbed, and there are several hundreds of individuals in one single such consortium are made. Eh? So that's the social spider. Uh, there's one more quick thing that I want to tell about is spiders do not have common English names. Many of them do not have common English names. I have tried to do that in my book. So I have come up with some, relevant English terms for those particular spiders and given them some common English name so that the common person who is not so thorough with taxonomic nomenclature can connect to this particular spider, or maybe through that common name. So Stygodyphus saracenorum is that one social spider that we do see around us. I was also talking about regeneration, and this is one such phenomenon which is very least explored in spiders, is regeneration. What you can see right now is there's a genus called Eucamptopus. It's a genus that is associated with water bodies. And what you can see right now, that one single leg, which is indicated by a red arrow, is a regenerated one. I have done certain experiments
Hmm.
wherein I collected the spiders which had lost their limbs and then tracked them for some time. What I have realized that, and I also in certain cases, while you catch the spiders, they try to lose their legs so that they can escape from a predator like us. Or maybe in one or two cases where I intentionally broke the legs of spiders and then tried to see whether they regenerate. What I observed is, even though these are the adult individuals, or if they're in the growing stage, if they have to regenerate the leg, the molt comes little early. So spiders have this capacity or capability, the genetic capability of regeneration. That's the reason that they can shed their legs so easily. And this is one of such phenomena that are not very largely studied. And then entire leg on its own can be regenerated as it is. It just looks slightly different, but then it does happen that way. So a spider is known to regenerate a leg. There are very few studies on this. Okay, next thing, very interesting ecological phenomenon is called as mimicry. And these spiders, as you can see, they are mimicking an ant species. Okay, so there is something called as ecophila, or maybe a what you call ecophila. I'm not able to recall its common name, but it makes a web, it make a leaf structures in the trees, and it binds it with the web of their own, silk of their own. But this is the species that mimics them. So as you can see that the left ones, top and bottom images are the of the female. The right ones are that of a male, and you can see that there is a very clear difference between the jaw structures. uh, the female, of course, entirely looks like that particular ant, but then the male looks like as if it is carrying a prey. So these are the species which do
Is
this
it
for
pagoda
two.
you're talking?
Uh, no, so
Pagoda ant you're
Ecophila is
talking?
that ant. No, no, no. Ecophila,
Okay.
weaver ant. It's called as weaver ant, red weaver ant
Weaver.
or something. That's the name, I guess. So they are very associated, very closely associated with those ants, as well as they are present somewhere away from those nests as well. It avoids predation by other predatory species by looking like an ant. At the same time, they can work with those ants, fool those ants in such a way that they can carry the prey that they are already carrying for themselves. So they can steal the prey from these ants and then feed on their own. They are so interestingly nice mimics that they hold their uh, front pair of legs and move them as if they are antenna. Okay, on the top left image, what you can see, there are two black dots. Those are its real eyes, but then they look like they're positioned so well that they look like that of an ant. So ants generally have eyes positioned that way. So even the ants get confused whether it's a spider or the same fellow from our ant colony. This is one that genus called Myrmaplata which does this, and this is another genus called Myrmarachne, which will also mimic different ant species, as you can see over here. The only way to distinguish them is to look at the eyes, and that's how you can distinguish them from the ants. Otherwise, the behaviors, the way they move, the way they hold the front pair of legs, it's just phenomenal. They just look like an ant. Okay, there is a species called Camponotus silicius, of which the abdomen is golden in color, and yeah, as you can see on the right side top image, that's a spider which is mimicking it. Plenty of such examples, particularly in this genus called Myrmarachne. The genus name itself means that's an ant spider. So Myrm, Myrm, is an ant, and arachne is a spider, so it's an ant spider. So that's a very typical of this particular genus. They fall into a family called Salticidae. This is another species, and as you can see that uh, the body plan also looks like it is so different that it looks like it is three segmented, and it mimics another ant called as Tetraponera rufonigra, which gives very painful sting, and this spider mimics that and moves exactly like it. Plenty of such examples, and they are very much visible in southern India. And this is one such subject that I think worth exploring, because we know mimicry in butterflies, very well studied in butterflies, but then in spiders, it's not that very well known. I mean, in fact, we do not know whether I mean, these are the hypotheses that I just spoke about, whether we just do not know whether these spiders mimic them to have an advantage over avoiding predators, or in fact to get along with the ants and steal their prey and then stay along with them and whatnot. So these are still slightly unexplored areas, which I would encourage everyone to take an account of. Okay, now talking about the venomics. Uh, as I said before, all the spiders are venomous except maybe a couple of families which are not venomous. This one is the Loxosceles species, or called as Vilene spider. This is that one spider which can cause a definite harm if it bites you. Its venom is slightly potent and it can cause local necrosis. And this is one of those, I would say, dangerous spiders. This is also interesting because it has six eyes. I'm going to talk about eyes in a bit, but yeah, this has six eyes. I, Spiders generally have six or eight eyes, mostly eight eyes, but this is the one which has six eyes. This is one another venomous species. I showed the size difference in abdomen before feeding and after feeding. This is the same species, Latrodectus erythromeles, or redback spider. It is a sister species of the very famous black widow spider, and its venom is also very potent. The black things that you can see around are the egg sacs. This photograph was collected in Jezuri. They are not very common species, but then, yeah, I mean, they are there. This is the tiniest spider that I have seen, called as Theridula, from the same family as that of the earlier Latrodectus I showed. And you can see that there is an egg sac behind this, an adult individual. And this was clicked on ARAI Hills during one of our field studies with Theridula. I just wanted to give an visual insight of how the size variation is there among spiders. So you can see the scale bar. This is the smallest spider that I have ever seen, and I managed to click a photograph where it took about 40 minutes to get a good picture, because it is so tiny that I couldn't get any good picture. This is the only good picture that I could capture, that of this particular species. Genus is Theridula. Uh, okay, since we were talking about venomics, this is that one particular family called Euroboridae, and this is a genus called Zoses. They make circular webs, but these are the spiders which have all the capability, but they do not have the venom glands. So they have chelicerae, they have fangs, they can catch the prey, of course, whatever that gets entangled into these webs, they just go and try to feed on them, but they do not subdue that prey because they don't have venom glands. So this is that one family called Euloboridae, which is again commonly seen around us, is a non-venomous spider. They do not have venom glands. The way they feed is rather than interesting, makes it slightly difficult for the spider in itself. What they do is they, in fact, whenever there is a prey that has been caught into the web, they immediately go catch hold it, wrap a silk around it, and start feeding on it without killing it. All the other spiders will wait until the prey is immobilized or at least dead, or maybe completely in the spider's control. But this spider particular doesn't wait. It starts feeding on the digestive or maybe any hemolymph which is then present inside that particular prey. And that's how they do it. They're pretty small spiders, but this is that one interesting family which do not have any venom with them. Okay, now coming to the eyes, in fact, how you can identify them on the field. This is the general pattern of spider eyes, and as you can see, there are anterior side, posterior side, and there are lateral sides. So posterior side is the one towards the abdomen, anterior side is towards the face, and that's how it goes. So these eight eyes do get arranged in different ways. One of the ways is when the lateral anterior sides are present in front of the central eyes or the median eyes. This is called as procurved eyes. So the entire row is curved towards front or the anterior side. This is called as procurved eyes. I mean, this is the one that we are talking about. So lateral eyes when they move ahead, or maybe median eyes when they go back during development. That's the technical term called as procurved eyes. Whereas when lateral eyes go in the back side towards the posterior side, or maybe the central eyes when they move forward, they're called as recurved eyes. Now, this movement is genetically determined, and this happens during the development, not when they become adult or not when they are hatched out of the egg. This development happens during the development. Okay, so developmental biology is something that you all know very well, that all the creatures, from the single-celled zygote becomes an adult. So during that process, before the eggs hatch, this development happens, this movement of the eyes that happens, and this is another phenomenon. The development among spiders is also very less known. It is a fantastic thing. In fact, it is uh, in some of the species, at least, it is quite observable because the eggs are translucent. So if you put them under a microscope, see the development, you can track the movement of different cells. You can track development of different organs and stuff like that. So this movement of the eyes happens during the development, and it is then fixed. It is genetically determined, of course. So this is the way there are procurved eyes and recurved eyes, and that these are the terminologies which are used, while describing the eye pattern of different families. So this is the row that we were talking about, and this is how different families, in fact, look like. There are eight-eyed spiders, and as you can see that there is quite a difference in different families. These are eight-eyed spiders, and all the eyes are uh, present in different patterns. And these are the patterns which are very important for the identification, even on field, as well as this acts as a major taxonomic character for swans. So the arrangement of eyes or eye pattern is very well studied in spiders. Just to tell you one more key idea or maybe a fact about spiders. All these eyes are simple eyes, unlike the complex eyes of honeybees or other insects. The simple eyes, they all of them have single nerve ending, and then they compositely they make an image. Although they do not see as an image as such, and the eyes are placed in different ways so that they can detect the movement of the prey, movement of the predators, movement of the mate. Right. So this is how different families have different eye pattern. It is uh, also interesting to see that in some of the families, these eyes are not of a very specific pattern, or within a family, different genera can have a different eye pattern. But more or less within a family, the eye patterns don't generally change. Uh, I would also like to point out the bottom left image of Gnaphosidae, the family Gnaphosidae. As you can see that there are four black eyes and there are four white eyes. So the white eyes, there are certain spiders which have a very clear distinction between a nocturnal eye and a diurnal eyes. So many spiders are diurnal, many spiders are nocturnal. That's the niche separation that has happened among spiders. But then for the species which are active in both these both these time zones, they have white eyes, white looking eyes, which would reflect any torch if you shed on them, which looks whitish, and they look like shiny stars. Those are the nocturnal eyes, whereas the black eyes, as you can see in the other photographs, are the diurnal eyes. Moving ahead, these are six-eyed spiders, and these are few families which have six eyes. As I said, the violin spiders or the Loxosceles I just showed you has six eyes as well, and you can see that the patterns are again different. In this case, during development, two eyes are lost. So they initially can have 8 eyes, or at least the precursors of 8 eyes, and then during development, two of the eyes get lost. So these are the six-eyed spiders. Then, of course, there are other aspects that I think are by and large which are not studied. But then all these things is something that I have covered in my book about the venom. And then there is a bioengineering of the spider silk, the richness and diversity. There is, of course, trafficking of spiders, particularly that of megalomorphs, and there is a conservation associated with that. Taxonomy is still something that is still getting worked out for Indian spiders, and population sampling for spiders is something that has been very tricky. So if you want to study them in the field, there are of course traditional methods, but then there is nothing more that you can do. But then the newer methods are of course required as your research question changes. So these are all the aspects that I have covered in my book pretty largely. The book is, of course, available on Amazon, and book is available with Indian Institute of Science Press. You can maybe message me if you're interested in the book, and then I'll see what I can do about it. Uh, let's also quickly talk about the small venture that I have of my own. By the way, that's my number if you want to note it down, as well as if you want to follow the Instagram page of our company called Pipitly. That's the code. So at Pipitly, a friend of mine and I, we co-founded it about a year back, and we are kind of inclined towards creating nature-themed products. And I'll show what kind of nature-themed products that we're talking about. That initially, to begin with, that we have came up with um, the lepel pins, and these are the different species of the lepel pins that we have been creating. We have selected a few species which are of a great demand right now. What you can see right on the screen is the pitta, there is oriental dwarf kingfisher, there is red munia, there is a uh, Indian blue robin, which is migratory. Then there's a beautiful nuthatch. Flamingo is something that everyone knows. It's quite a species. There are two owls, barn owl as well as spotted owlet. Then Shaheen falcon, that is very common to Pune. Surprisingly, it's a species that is getting adapted to domestic the urban lifestyle. Hunts pigeons very well, which I'm very happy about. Then we also did a few consignments for some clients in Bhutan, which included rufous-necked hornbill, satyr tragopan, blood pheasant, green magpie, ward strogon, and then our recent additions also include Malabar gliding frog, the Russell's viper. There is a Bhutan glory. That's a butterfly which is very typical to Bhutan, and people do go there for just to see that particular species. We have leopard, then golden cat. Golden cat is something that we made for Wildlife Trust of India because they have a conservation program of that. And of course, tiger is that iconic flagship wildlife species that we hold. So, and this is the general representation of the pins. And if you are interested, please do get in touch with me. Uh, we have perpetual stock. We keep on coming up with newer and newer species. We take uh, custom designs as well. We make them in bulk. So please get in touch with me whenever you can. So that's the end of my presentation. And thanks everyone for listening to me very patiently. I hope it wasn't too much. And let me stop sharing my
Amazing,
It
screen.
was
amazing presentation. There are one or two
amazing.
Thank you, ma'am.
questions,
Yeah, of course.
questions in the question chat
Yeah,
box.
yeah. God is good enough. Share your contact. Yes. So, Dr. Vijay Paithane asks, can you share the contact for the future communication? Of course, I hope you have all noted that down, but then let me still type it here. That's my number if
You can
somebody
also
has
give
missed
the
it already.
email ID.
Yeah, I'll put my email address also in the chat box.
And sir, you can also share the link for your book if anyone want to order.
I'll do that. So I need to find it, but then please type it on Amazon. My book appears over there.
Mhm.
ISC Press is another source where you can, in fact, look for the book. But ISC Press, if you search ISC Press, that's good enough. I think that will yield it.
So there are
Yeah,
one or two questions.
sure.
One or two questions.
Of course.
So sir is asking about if there are any spiders associated with the plant species.
You mean exclusive or in general? So in general, there are several crab spiders which are associated with flowers. So the crab spiders are flower crab spiders, particularly from the genus Thomisus. They are exclusively associated with plants. So they are present on the flowers, they're ambush predators, and they hunt. So the spider that I showed with a honeybee and a small fly on it, that's the spider I'm talking about. But about exclusivity, whether there are any mutual associations between spiders and plants is something I don't think so, because there are certain preferences, but the preferences are based on the availability of the flowers and also the colors. So some of these spiders can in fact change the colors in a bit. So the thomisus that I said can change from white to yellow. So that can go. But then I don't think there is any exclusive association between plants. There is
Sir,
one
Avani,
question. So I'm also reading from the
yeah,
chat.
yeah,
There is a question
yeah.
from Avani. She asked that do we have larger spiders eating smaller ones? Yes. So in fact, it's not even size dependent, Avani ji. So even smaller spiders like Portia, I was just talking about. Portia is a very small spider that way. It can feed even on the larger spiders. It can subdue larger individuals as well. So that's great. I mean, it does happen that way. She also asked the same another question that webs are put in a certain angles. Does it make it invisible and good for preying? Yes. So the web positioning as well as its angle makes a big difference. So a spider can sense it, while it is present in its vicinity, that in which way the prey are going to be. There is another factor to it. So based on that, of course, they can position the web whether they want to make it exactly vertical or maybe horizontal. But there are certain families which will exclusively make it angled or maybe flat to the ground. Whereas there are certain families like Araneidae, all the typical web or web weavers, they will make the orb webs very vertical. In fact, there is one genus called Neoscona. Many of the species, in fact, make the webs only in night, eat it in the night, and then go back to maybe the sort of local hibernation during the daytime. So, and then build the web again in the night, and again by the morning they will eat it and go back to sleeping under the night. So this has been happening for maybe millions of years. So there are certain spiders which are nocturnal, which make webs only in the night. So that does happen. Are there any feature films on spiders? There are some by BBC Earth. I think maybe I need to look into that. But yeah, there are a few. Why link spiders build web only for the egg sac construction, not for capturing prey? So link spiders, or maybe all the spiders from family called Oxyopidae, all the spiders from family Lycosidae, all of them are these are the ones which would want to catch the prey while they are on run. So of course, I mean that's how the niche is separated among spider species. See, all of them feed on invertebrates, all of them feed on insects. So there has to be some niche separation. So that's why link spiders build web only for the egg sac construction and not for capturing the prey. That in fact holds true for many of the predatory species. So that's how it goes.
Yes, sir, absolutely amazing, and especially your photography. Uh,
Thank you so much.
and it very simple and
Sorry, there
leafy
is one
language.
more quick question,
Question.
Yeah, yeah,
Anil
yeah,
sir.
sure.
I'll just take that
Yeah.
one. I think questions will
Deepak
keep
is up.
coming, but then
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
so
Yeah, you can take this
Deepak,
last question. Yes.
yeah, sure. Deepak asks, there are images which show trees covered with spider web, especially post flood. What triggers this behavior? I'm actually not entirely sure about that, but these are the ones which are kind of community spiders. I mean, they try to stick together, so they don't want to venture
Mm.
out uh, too much. So like I said, that was Stegodipus. There is a genus called Stegodipus, which is a social spider. So that's the same similar phenomenon. But there are certain spider species which are solitary, but then they can come together to live as such, to avoid predation, to maybe, or in some cases when the prey is not that abundant. So these are the spiders which would also feed on the dying individuals within that specific, if you want to call it a colony. So Yeah, so that may be the trigger for such a behavior. Yeah. Over to you, sir.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah, madam.
this is the last
Please.
question we have taken due to the time constraint, and many
Yeah.
of you can contact Dr. Abhijeet personally for any more
Sure.
questions.
Sure.
So thank you very much, Abhijeet, for very inspiring and informative talk. This is the world of spiders. Actually, we are not very much aware about the spiders. Just we know very small thing that the six legs insects, eight
Mhm.
legs spiders. That's it. That's it. That's it. And many of us, we are afraid of them. The threats
That's
are
true.
there about the spiders. That is the thing. But it's an amazing presentation, just amazing. About the
Thank you, ma'am.
photographs, they are very self-explanatory and good enough to know the world. It's a beautiful world of the spiders, which is very less known to the listeners and also to the scientific community. So I'm sure now today the listeners, they will definitely look into your book and they'll purchase it, and they and yes, it's an interesting subject very much. So the youngsters, whoever they have joined, they may pursue in the various aspects which are untouched for the research also. So thank you very much, Abhijeet, on behalf of Maharashtra Vruksha Samvardhini, RJ College, and Khardekar Mahavidyalaya, and Natural History Education and Research Institute. So from all our institutes, we are very much thankful to you, and definitely I'm sure everybody will look many more such type of presentations from
Right.
you. We'll
Right.
keep in touch with you.
Absolutely.
Yes, so that's amazing presentation. Everybody loves that, and I'm sure that today's whoever, it's a very the today's listeners, they were from various fields. So I appeal them that please subscribe to our YouTube channel Mission Devrai. This lecture will be available for them, so the researchers, they can listen it again and again. I'm very much sure, looking at the pictures and listening the lecture again and again, this talk is very, very informative. So thank you very much, Abhijeet, and thanks to all.
Yeah, thanks
Yes.
everyone for
To all the
listening to me patiently,
listeners.
and thanks for having me
Yeah.
for this wonderful initiative. I would love to talk about,
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
various aspects as well. We'll see.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. So to our listeners, one appeal. I have already shared one WhatsApp link group link. So every month we are meeting twice, one for a lecture and one for meeting a writer. So all our future programs, their flyers, their information would be available in the same group. So please join. The link is provided in your chat box. And thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you,
Thank you,
people.
sir.